Welcome back to the continuation of the topic Planning of Instruction from Methodology of Teaching Natural Science. In this session, we are going to discuss about lesson planning, its needs and stages, and lesson plan preparation based on behaviorist and constructivist format. Planning of Instruction Part 2. Let us start with lesson planning and the need for planning a lesson. Lesson plan. We can say that planning of classroom instruction starts from year plan, which is a plan for teaching a subject in an academic year. The subject is divided into many units, and a unit plan details the arrangement of topics of subject matter in a unit to be taught in the stipulated time. After year plan and unit plan, the time has come for transacting the subject to the students in the classroom. A plan is required to teach a lesson and for the daily work in the classroom. This part requires very careful planning, and the plan of action implemented by the teacher in the classroom is called lesson plan. The plan outlines the content to be taught in a classroom in a period and the way of doing it. Lesson plan can be defined as the teacher's mental and emotional visualization of classroom activities, and it can be viewed as a teacher's own guide which controls his or her teaching learning process in the classroom. Careful lesson planning is the key to successful teaching. The teacher must have a thorough knowledge in the subject matter and its mode of delivery to the students in the classroom setting. The planning will give the teacher a clear idea about the class from start to the end, that is, how to introduce the day's topic, how to develop the key concepts, how to correlate or connect to real life situations, and how to conclude the lesson. This means that a lesson plan is confined to one period and each learning activity is given in detail. The content to be taught in one class is grouped in terms of teaching points and is arranged in a psychological sequence, that is, from easy to difficult, particular to general, etc. You should also keep in mind that a lesson plan should be within the content of the overall unit and continuous from day to day. That is, the work of each day should be an extension and continuation of the previous day's work. Some of the functions and advantages of planning a lesson in advance can be listed like this. First is the achievement of definite goals and objectives. Every topic included in the subject has general as well as specific aims, that is, the desirable behavioral changes to be developed in the student. Keeping in mind this, the teacher can realize them effectively if all the planning of executing the lesson in the class is done logically and systematically beforehand. Second is prevention of wastage of time and energy. Planning a lesson or what is to be done in one allotted period helps in avoiding the wastage of time and energy of both the teacher and the students, as every step has been planned in advance. It also makes the work regular, well organized and systematic. Third point is that a properly planned lesson will boost up the self-confidence of the teacher. There will not be any anxiety, rush or hurriedness, as the teacher is sure about what is to be done in the class. Another important point is that a careful planning of lesson provides continuity in teaching process and establishes connection between different parts of study. Also, the advanced planning provides opportunities to the teacher to think beyond what is given in the textbooks, that is, finding out new ways and means of making the lesson more interesting. Steps involved in planning a lesson. We have seen why a teacher needs to plan a lesson before starting instruction in the classroom. Now, we will move on to the steps involved in planning a lesson. John Herbart, a German philosopher and educationist, proposed 4 formal steps for planning a lesson based on the apperceptive mass theory of learning. The theory proposed that the learner is like a clean slate and all knowledge is given from outside. If new knowledge is imparted by linking it with the old knowledge of the students, it may be acquired easily and will be retained for a longer period. Herbart's followers later modified and added more steps, making it a 6-step approach, which are generally called as Herbartian steps of lesson planning. The steps are preparation or introduction, presentation, comparison or association, generalization, application and recapitulation. Now, we will examine each of the 6 steps in detail. First step is the preparation or introduction. The teacher must prepare the students to receive new knowledge by linking it with the previous knowledge of them. This arouses curiosity and interest in the learners. This step should be brief and involves testing of what the students already know by asking questions or by some useful discussion. The curiosity may also be aroused by a story, an experiment, presentation of a chart or a model or a specimen, etc. The second step, presentation, involves stating of the objective of the lesson and presenting the new information. The teacher should use demonstration activities and other aids to make the learning more concrete and meaningful. Both the teacher and the students should be active participants in this teaching learning process, and teachers should try to draw out as much as possible from the students through judicious questioning. In science classes, it is desirable to adopt a heuristic approach. The third step is comparison or association. The learning will be simplified and clarified if the new knowledge acquired is associated to the life situations. This can be done by citing examples or by comparisons with related concepts. With the fourth step, generalization, the aim of the lesson is achieved. The generalization must be a discovery, that is, as far as possible, teachers must take an effort to make the students arrive at conclusions or generalizations themselves. In the step application, the students make use of the acquired knowledge in familiar as well as unfamiliar situations. In some lessons, this step is very useful as it makes the students apply the theoretical knowledge to practical situations. The last step is recapitulation, where the teacher tries to find out whether the students have understood what was taught or not. Teachers can ask questions, conduct small tests, make students label sketches, etc. Recapitulation is important as it is only through review that a teacher can judge as to how well the students have learned the concepts and how effective the method of teaching has been. I hope you have followed the 6 steps of lesson planning. You should keep in mind that these are just guidelines and many times you may not be able to follow all the steps. A teacher's creativity, logical thinking, nature of the topic, classroom atmosphere, etc. decide how to proceed or carry on with the class. Still, knowledge of these steps will definitely help you in achieving your objectives. Now, we will see how a lesson plan based on behaviorist format is prepared. Lesson plan, behaviorist format. In the behavioral approach to teaching, learning means acquiring new knowledge and new behaviors are learned because of the role played by external stimuli. Here, new behaviors mean the change in the 3 domains: cognitive, affective and psychomotor. External stimuli are those learning experiences provided by the teacher in the class. You must be well versed in taxonomy of educational objectives before attempting to write this. I hope that all of you have studied all the domains of learning and the way of writing instructional objectives well. Let us recall some points with regard to the behaviorist format. The NCERT has modified the original Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives to fit Indian situation. The different levels proposed under the 3 domains cognitive, affective and psychomotor thus clubbed are knowledge, comprehension or understanding, application, which are taken from the cognitive domain, skills from psychomotor domain, appreciation, interest and attitude from affective domain. Each objective is explained in terms of observable behavioral changes of the learner, which are called specifications. As an example, consider this. We can say that the students should have knowledge, but how do we know that students possess knowledge? The answer is when they are able to recall or recognizes the subject matter taught. Here, knowledge is the objective and recall and recognition are the specifications. Specifications are generally written in the format of an action verb, which is the behavior modification part, and the content part associated with it. For example, the pupil understands the terms planned movements, external stimuli, tropism and types of tropism. See the format of a lesson plan now. Lesson plan on biology. First, you should give the general information, which are name of the teacher, name of the school, subject, unit, topic, standard, division, period, time, strength of the class and date. The next is identifying and writing what the students already know and or what they have studied so far about the topic. Remember, we have already seen the importance of identifying the previous knowledge of the students. After that, content analysis must be done. The content is analyzed thoroughly and various points are listed here like symbols and formulae if any, terms, places, persons, facts, concepts, definitions, principles, process, theory, etc. A symbol is a letter representing something. For example, the symbol for nitrogen is N, capital N that is. A term is a new word having significant meaning to the pupil. Example is osmosis, photosynthesis, etc. A fact is an event that has occurred and has been recorded without any disagreements. For example, shoots of plants tend to grow towards the source of light. A concept is a classification of ideas, objects or events into a set by mentally abstracting the common essential characteristics that defines the set. Osmosis is a concept, tropism is a concept. The concepts can be divided into major concepts and minor concepts. For example, consider the concept tropism. There are many minor concepts based on this major one like positive and negative tropism, phototropism, geotropism, hydrotropism, chemotropism, etc. Principles. A principle is a statement which establishes a relationship between at least two concepts. Process. A process involves a series of facts or operations which has a sequential order of occurrence. For example, metabolism, photosynthesis, etc. The next segment of the lesson plan is listing of instructional objectives. That is, writing the behavioral changes in the students the teacher is expecting to see on teaching this particular topic. See this. What you have done at content analysis part is detailed here. Under instructional objectives, there is acquisition of knowledge. The pupil acquires knowledge of the terms, facts, concepts, etc. Under development of understanding, you should write the pupil understands the biological terms, facts, concepts mentioned above. From the application part, you can write the student applies scientific knowledge of what you have taught in life situations. Under skills, you can write the student develops skills in that particular area. And under interest, you can write the student develops scientific interest in again what you have taught earlier. Appreciation. Under appreciation, you can write the student develops scientific appreciation towards that particular topic. And under attitudes, you can write the student develops scientific attitude towards the topic under study. After this, the teaching aids like specimens, models, charts, microscope, slides, etc. to be used for teaching the lesson are listed. Then references used are also listed. Now comes the details. It is usually written in a 4-column format. First column details content part, second column has the objective and specifications for that content part, third details the learning experiences to be given to the students to explain the content, and fourth column has evaluation procedures like questions to be asked or activities to be done by the students after that particular concept has been explained. Showing you a complete lesson plan is beyond the scope of this class. I will give you a sample of writing each step. In the introduction part, the previous knowledge is written. In the second column, objective and specification are written. Learning experience is always written in detail. At the end of each column, what is to be written in the board is also specified. The questions to be asked are listed in the fourth column. See a sample. Here, under preparation, I have written changes in plans to external stimuli. And in the second column, I have written that knowledge, that is the instructional objective, bar recalls, that is a specification. Here the student recalls the folding of leaflets. And again I have written knowledge bar recognizes also. In the learning experience, that is a third column, it is written that the teacher shows a touch me not or the mimosa plant. Asks what happens when we touch its leaflets. Today we will discuss about various plant movements in response to external stimuli like water, light, gravity, chemical, touch, etc. Then that blackboard writing is also written there, plant movements. In the fourth column, again I have told you evaluation procedures can be written. Here I have written that have you seen similar phenomena elsewhere? You can ask some other questions also here. The next is presentation of the topic of the class. Major concept and associated minor concepts are listed one by one, and for each separate learning activities are written. This is the development session and all the other steps are embedded in this. That is, through various learning experiences provided by the teacher, students understands the lesson, tries to apply what is learnt, generalizes, etc. In between, teacher constantly checks whether the students are following what is being taught, and the questions are listed in the fourth column. I have given here only one concept and the corresponding learning experience. See this. See the presentation part. I have written that tropic movement is the plant movement in which the direction of stimulus determines the direction of movement. And in the second column, which is the instructional objective and the specification, I have written understanding bar identifies or infers. As a learning activity, I have written that the teacher shows a chart or various pictures. Stems of plants grow upward towards light. Roots grow down. Direction of stimulus determines the direction of movement. And again, blackboard summary, tropism. And in the fourth column, that is evaluation, you can ask various questions connected to that presentation part. After all the concepts and corresponding learning experiences are listed, the review or the recapitulation part is written. A summary also is given. Questions are asked. The lesson plan is complete with some assignments. These types of lesson plans are not in much use nowadays. The thrust is now onto the construction of understanding by the learners themselves rather than pouring of all the information onto the students by the teachers. Now we will discuss about lesson plan preparation based on constructivist format. Lesson plan preparation based on constructivist format. The essence of constructivist theory is that people learn best by creating their own understanding of reality. Recall the works and theories of Piaget, Dewey, Brunner, Vygotsky and other cognitive theorists. The goal of constructivist oriented teaching is to provide a set of conditions that will lead students to construct a view of reality that both makes sense to them and address the essence of the teacher's objectives. Here, rather than the demonstrative behavior of the teacher as in behaviorist approach, the focus is on the development of situations which foster the constructive activities of the learner. That is, the students are active participants of learning rather than passive recipients of information from teachers. For a teacher, the constructivist view can point towards a number of different teaching practices. The teacher provides tools such as problem solving and inquiry based learning activities with which students formulate and test their ideas, draws conclusions and inferences, pool and convey their knowledge in a collaborative learning environment. That is, learning is possible in such a classroom in many ways. See some of the methods the teacher can use. Discovery learning. Teachers must create an atmosphere that enables the learner to discover ideas and facts. Rather than leaving the students for discovering themselves, providing opportunities that prompts the learner to discovery is important. Learning through debate. Here debate does not mean an argument but a sharing of ideas. Different ideas can be developed by asking for the explanations, internalizing ideas and analyzing them. Learning through problem solving. Learning takes place when students see in a particular situation a problem that needs solution. Collaborative learning. Learners learn together and they share the responsibility of learning, working toward a common goal. According to Vygotsky, learners can reach higher levels of achievement than they are capable of reaching on their own with help from teachers and peers. So, teachers and group members are a help to individual learners during learning. Scaffolding. Sometimes the student may not be able to complete learning activities on their own. Scaffolding here is a helping hand, the sort of assistance by the teacher. Teachers should provide hints, tips, gives examples, ask questions to direct thinking in the right way, etc. With these small helps, students will be able to accomplish the tasks faster and effectively. So, in a constructivist classroom, learning is constructive. Students construct knowledge on their own. Active. They actively participate in the learning process. Reflective. They reflect upon what they have understood. Collaborative. They learn in a collaborative environment, sharing and discussing with their group members. Inquiry based. They try to arrive at conclusions and generalizations on their own through inquiry. Evolving. By constructing their own knowledge by actively participating in the learning process and then reflecting upon what they understood in a collaborative environment, a change in the understanding is evolved. Here, teacher's role is interactive and supportive wherever necessary. The constructivist learning design emphasizes 6 important elements. Teachers develop the situation for students to explain, select a process for grouping of materials and students, build a bridge between what the students know and what they want to learn, anticipate questions to ask and answer without giving explanations, encourage students to exhibit a record of their thinking while sharing it with others, and ask for students' reflections about their learning. Let us discuss one by one. Give a situation with a title and explain the process of what you expect the students to do, like solve a problem, make a decision, draw conclusions, etc. Grouping can be done in 2 ways, either as a whole class or individuals in collaborative thinking teams of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 like that. And process of grouping can be counting numbers, choosing similar fruits, colors, etc. Materials are given to each group. Bridging involves such things as giving students a simple problem to solve, having a whole class discussion, making a list, labeling parts, etc. This is the initial activity which can aid in building a bridge between what they already know and what they will learn in the class. Questions can be asked by the teacher during each element. The students are encouraged to ask questions, and by counter questioning, teachers must encourage them to explain their thinking. Next is exhibiting the recordings of students made by them in explaining the situations. As last step, teachers should make the students reflect upon what they have learned and understood. See the format of the lesson plan now. After the general information like these points, the curricular objectives are listed. The unit plan details these for each topic. See, I have listed 2 objectives here. For the topic nutrients in food, the curricular objectives are 1. To develop understanding about the nutrients in food items and the purpose they serve, and 2. To develop understanding about the source of nutrients. The content analysis can be given next. You have already seen how to analyze the content. You can list out here the relevant points like terms, facts, concepts, etc. The process skills to be developed as a result of doing learning activities provided by the teacher, materials or inputs required for the class, and previous knowledge are listed one by one then. See what I have listed for this class. Under process skills, I have given observing, categorizing, analyzing and generalizing. Materials or inputs required, I have written chart only. The lesson plan is usually written in a 3-column format. In the first column, objectives and the respective process skills involved are written. For each one of them, learning activities are prepared and written in the next column. Third column is for recording responses of groups and results of evaluation. Learning activities are of 3 types: introductory, developmental and concluding. Introductory activities clarify and define what is to be studied, followed by group planning and discussion of materials to use. Some examples are: examine and discuss picture or photos or a paragraph that is given in the textbook to introduce the topic, or view a set of slides or specimens or models and discuss or prepare short notes on findings. Developmental activities should grow out of opening activities to provide a smooth learning sequence. That is, the developmental activities should flow from data gathering activities like using table of contents to locate needed information, to data organizing activities like classification of collected data, then to applicative and demonstrative activities like explaining the reasons of events, and on to creative and expressive activities like proposing new ways to classify items, new solutions to problems, etc. Concluding activities wrap up the class. An example is sharing, discussing and evaluating as a group the key concepts and main idea under development. A teacher in the constructivist classroom is entirely different, since the transaction is different from the conventional teaching. As a concluding activity, we will examine some characteristics of a constructivist teacher. Constructivist teachers encourage and accept students' autonomy and initiative. Encourage students to develop their own understanding of concepts before sharing actual versions. Encourage students' inquiries by asking thoughtful, open-ended questions and encouraging to ask questions to each other. Allow student responses to derive lessons, shift instructional strategies and alter content. Seek elaboration of students' initial responses. Encourage students to do their own classification, analysis, prediction and creation. Provide ample time for students to construct relationships and create metaphors. We will now summarize what we have discussed so far. In this class, we have seen the importance of lesson planning and its need and stages. Lesson plan preparation based on behaviorist and constructivist format was discussed then. Here are some assignments for you. 1. Write a lesson plan on any topic you like based on constructivist format and compare it with one prepared by a teacher in school service. 2. Write 2 lesson plans on any one topic by behaviorist and constructivist format. Compare the two and point out advantages and disadvantages. 3. Collect lesson plans for the same topic from various countries. You can use internet for this. Compare. 4. List out some of the difficulties of teaching without a proper lesson plan. Here are some books for your reference. 1. Science Education, Theoretical Basis of Teaching and Pedagogic Analysis, written by Dr. T.K. Matthew and Dr. T.M. Molikuti, published by Rainbow Book Publishers, Kerala in the year 2006. 2. Social Studies in the Classroom, Trends and Methods, written by Dr. P.K. Sudesh Kumar and Dr. P.P. Naushad, published by Scopio Publishers and Distributors, Calicut University in the year 2006. 3. Teacher's Handbook, Natural Science for Standard 9, published by SCERT Kerala in 2010. 4. The website of NCERT is very informative. The address is www.ncert.nic.in. Thank you for watching the program. Goodbye.